Okay.
I'm here with Carol Phillips for another interview with the TV theme battle bracket. So we're really getting down to the nitty gritty. So Carol was one of the initial people that I spoke with about TV theme song. So she was really pushing a Miami Vice rhetoric when things were moving along. So thumbs up. She's not disagreeing with that whatsoever. And so there's a few people, and Carol was one of them, to get this bracket moving. And I remember messaging her when Kojiko reached out to interview me, and she was like, what the what? Yeah. So what started as kind of a funny thing actually ended up on cable access TV. And so she's also, we're going to talk about that, she's also really against the lovey-dovey family songs, as she quotes the elevator music. So yeah, before we jump into the true questions, I know, like, especially when you really went at Who's the Boss, because you're like, Who's the Boss, WKRP, those songs are boring. Like, you're very vocal. Can you give us?
Oh, Growing Pains. Oh my God. Family Ties. I can't even tell the difference between all this stuff.
So
White sugar cotton candy.
So yeah,
people.
You're more of you like the instrumental high energy of the Miami Vice, the A-Team, the Airwolf.
Well, I got some other ideas here, but we'll get to that,
Okay.
later.
We'll get to that later. But yeah, you have been very vocal about, the lovey-dovey family is just not your jam.
It's just not, I don't know, are they the best theme songs that people could think of, or did they just have nostalgic love for the shows, Like, I think with WKRP in particular, love the show. Absolutely love it. Theme song sucks. Very underwhelming. It's underwhelming. It's a rock and roll station, and that is the intro music they use for it. I mean, the music they play at the end is actually better than the music they play to introduce the show.
Yeah, so someone that I follow, Randy Shook, he jumped in on that conversation and said initially that credits or closing credits song was supposed to be the opener, but they decided on that one, which kind of fit more into the theme of the late 70s, early 80s there. But yeah. And then we also did a side bet, a little side, and that the closing credit song beat the initial one by a significant margin. It didn't impact the bracket at all. But looking at the brackets, we're going to do a quick little share screen here.
Yep.
And then give you a chance to take a look at the bracket. And then ultimately, 1 second, I gotta learn how to do this properly. There we go. So when we're looking at the bracket, once I pull it up here, we have half of the final four filled in. Yesterday, WKRP in Cincinnati went bye-bye. Fresh Prince.
Thank goodness.
And Fresh Prince is quite the juggernaut. It's got the energy. It's got, it's...
Kelly, the point of this in the end is you're talking about, and this is my problem with Growing Pains and Family Ties and all that, there are some shows that had iconic theme music, right? It was iconic. Fresh Prince is one of those. Knight Rider was one of those, frankly. Cheers, absolutely. So I'm glad that Fresh Prince and Cheers are in that mix. MASH, I would think, should also be there, although I'm I like the Golden Girls theme song as well. So that is kind of a mix-up for me. For me, the top four would have been Fresh Prince, Cheers, actually Golden Girls and MASH. To me, of those 8, the top 4 should be those, but we got to choose between Golden Girls and MASH. So we'll see. I'll bet you Golden Girls is going to win just because of the whole favorite show. Right? Everybody has watched Golden Girls on syndication. It was on syndication when I was in university watching it, right? It was on CBC at 5 p.m. A friend of mine was discussing it. That was Danger Bay and Golden Girls. I was out east at the time, so.
Golden Girls, and I was talking about this about Kids in the Hall, which is another TV theme song that maybe should have made it. But Golden Girls, they approached some pretty interesting subjects. They talked about homosexuality, a whole bunch of other topics way before any other show did too. So Golden Girls, yeah, was definitely still is aged really well. It was on syndication for that many years for a reason. My wife is a huge Golden Girls fan, so I've recently watched a lot of them.
You know what? If I come across it, I'll still sit down and watch an episode, even though it's probably the 20th time I've watched it, right? still watch it. It's just one of those shows you like to. It's not an in your face kind of offensive type of, well, not offensive, but it's not so dramatic that you're like, oh, I just want to sit back and relax and enjoy, a storyline kind of thing. So
Yeah, smart.
no, but when you were, pardon?
I said it had
What?
really smart humor, so smart,
Oh
subtle,
yeah,
like you were talking about.
absolutely. I mean, not sometimes now that you watch some of the sitcoms on TV and it's all about one-liners, right? And it's not the situation or anything like that. But when you talk about, songs that may have been in it, I think that's where the frustration comes in from, right? Because now you start, when you put this together, it was a nice Twitter distraction for the thing, right? And then it served its purpose, really. Now when you go, we miss Kids in the Hall, and none of us saw. I wasn't really taking it seriously, so I just make sure Miami Vice is in there. But
Yeah.
when you think of some of the songs that probably should have been. So what were the rules? Was it they had to run in the 80s and the 90s? Was that the rule?
No, it had to play in the 80s or 90s, like air some episodes. So MASH, WKRP, Three's Company, those didn't start in the 80s, but they did broadcast in the 80s.
Yeah.
They made new episodes, yeah.
Right. So the one that I'm thinking now, oh my gosh, how did I miss this? Is because at the time I wasn't paying attention and basically just let other people, I hope I'm insulting people, but let other people suggest gem in the holograms, for goodness sakes. I mean, meanwhile, if you're talking about iconic cartoon theme songs, I've mentioned Bob the Builder and people have laughed, but that started in 98 or 99, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon theme show, Heroes in the Half Shell, Turtle Power. That is not on the list, but Transformers is there. But actually the one song that I can't believe isn't on there, because I wasn't thinking at the time, I sing it all the time, is the Jeffersons theme song. And that ran into the 80s as well. That should be like a playoff almost. That should be kind of like, once we've decided what the most iconic songs are, go back to the final 4 or the final 8 and introduce some other ones that we hadn't even thought of at the time and say, okay, let's play this off. Let's bring in Laverne and Shirley. They actually made it into the 80s.
Laverne and Shirley is a killer.
Now you're thinking, oh my gosh, how did we forget these songs, right?
But yeah, I think that if we were to do it again, I would definitely probably break it down in categories. So you got your cartoon, maybe your Canadian, and then your regular TV. And then I would open up the nominations. I probably only open up the nominations for probably 30 hours. Like it was a short window.
Well, if you want, if you're going to get all professional about this now, really, we should probably also jury the entrants, right? Like if we're going to do if we're going to do a real March Madness kind of thing, right? Then we got to set up a committee, have everyone nominated, and then we got to decide what we're going to do. Who's going to be in the top 64? Hey, you can pull this off, Kelly. You can draw out the names and the seedings and everything.
Yes, I like that. I'm going the next step because I was going to ask you about this because usually you're pretty, research and analytical mind, but with this, like you've been very gut instinct, like shooting from the hip. Has it been a freeing experience for you?
Well, no, it's just that Twitter is a freeing experience. Although you know what happens though, the more people, I have very few followers, but some of the people that follow me have, a pretty decent profile, and I have to kind of. Now it's like, now when I get a follower that I know personally or professionally, now I start to get afraid, like, oh my goodness, I can't say what I normally say. So once in a while, I'll DM the person when I've seen that they've, followed me and say, by the way, I swear a lot and I have a lot of really bad hot takes. So, I'm not who you think I am, frankly, right?
Wait till you hear my thoughts on Family Ties theme song. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, exactly. Although I'll tell you, it's all very white, right? It's very white. Man, the show is white, the song is white. It's like, oh, when you start to reflect based on what's been happening these days, in the community, but also on social media, you're like, oh, gosh, right? So, yeah. All right, shoot. What's the next question?
So next question is, to finish off the final 4, Night Court or Drew Carey. Who do you think is going to come out of that one? Are you indifferent?
Honest, on the one hand, I'm indifferent. Although I would say I would hope it's Drew Carey because Night Court if you have to Google the theme song to remember what it was, I say that's kind of a bad omen. But also, when I heard it, it was like, oh, that's Barney Miller. It's a derivative. It's a derivative of Barney Miller. And then
Yeah,
when I
that's very intuitive. Yes.
and then when I prepared and researched for this interview, apparently it turns out that they these music writing partners actually each individually wrote those theme songs. So that's why they sound so similar. So I don't know. No, Night Court never spoke to me. When you were asking, I think you'd asked me at one point, you were going to ask me what some of my memories were of theme songs. Um, I don't know why I suddenly jumped to this, but because I
That's
was
okay.
looking
We
at,
got to get to the question anyway. Yeah.
yeah, I was looking, well, I guess because they're instrumental, right? Night Court's instrumental. Um, it was Miami Vice, but it was also, and I looked this up to see if it was also a theme song we should have missed, that we missed, but we didn't include, but it wasn't really a theme song. Now, I'm old. It's $6 Million Man. So
Oh, yes.
So so it wasn't really a song, it was just the opening, right? So the opening to $6 Million Man and the music to Miami Vice were both openings that when you heard it on the TV in the days before the PVR, you would come running to the TV. Oh my gosh, it's starting, right? So that to me makes a good theme song. Oh, you know what else we didn't put in here? We didn't put in the Friends theme song.
Yeah, that surprisingly did not get any nominations. I thought for sure it was going
I
to
know,
get nominated.
and
Nice to see it.
Seinfeld did. That was weird to me, but anyway.
But yeah, I think we could definitely expanded this. But yeah, I like the panel idea. That's probably one of the better ideas on kind of
The panel is going to be a juried entry next time.
jury
Right?
entry. Yeah.
This was great. This was what we call a proof of concept.
Yeah.
So now we can move on and expand it.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. So coming out, who do you think is going to be crowned the champion of the TV theme battle bracket?
Oh, I really hope it's Fresh Prince.
You really hope it's Fresh Prince.
But if it's Cheers, I can understand that as well. But Cheers is one of those kind of feel good, hear it in an elevator kind of theme.
Yeah, song. I think what's really amping up Cheers is that it talks about going to a bar and people knowing your name and social interactions. And I think a lot of people are missing out on that. I know patios have opened up this week, but only to limited capacity, right? And so I think a lot of people are kind of torn on that and kind of reacting to that.
Yeah, well, it was also an extremely, extremely popular show, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, like I mentioned in previous interviews, like if you go down to Boston, they have two facilities or two destinations where you can like reminisce about Cheers. They got the original, what it looks like on the outside, but the bar inside looks different. And then at Quincy Market, they have a replica of the true bar, but the outside looks different, right? So, and you talk about what is the shelf life for something like that, but it seems to be chugging along. And Cheers also has Frasier, which is probably one of the most successful spinoffs for sure of all time. So we've talked about your initial memories and hearing that theme song, and especially the Miami Vice one is pretty crucial because just due to the fact that it's got that New Order bizarre love triangle, like yeah.
Okay.
So
I never thought of that, but sure.
Well, I listened to it today because I knew we were going to talk about it, in my research and preparation for the interview, and I was like, yeah, that's an attention grabber for sure. Now you've got two, I guess they would count as teenagers, right? Two teenage boys, are they both musically inclined?
No, I mean, both of them took piano, but it was Sebastian who took it to the next level. Christian just kind of let it go after grade 9 music, right? Where you have to take music, helped him through that. And that was it for him. So, although, I don't hear a lot of the music he listens to because he listens to it with his earbuds, but sometimes when the Bluetooth has been turned on in the car and he's still in the living room listening, it's like he listens to a lot of hip hop and that kind of thing. So I'm like, oh, did not strike me as that kind of kid, but whatever. And Sebastian is very much more alternative, heavy rock and very experimental music and everything. So I didn't ask Christian. I did ask Sebastian though about what shows, if he did ever heard of any of them even.
Yeah.
And he says he's seen, Seinfeld. That's one he's watched, but he hasn't really watched anything else. He's not a big TV guy. Anyways, he streams a lot, but he says he knows a lot of people are watching Friends.
A lot of watching Friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because, well, like we're just on a show basis, that's one show I haven't ever fully embraced. I watched many episodes, but it just, you take out Phoebe and I guess Matthew Perry or Chandler, he's got some.
No, they're all very frustrating characters, right? But what I remember most about Friends, and again, this is where I'm dating myself, is that I remember, Seinfeld was part of that must-see TV lineup. I think it was NBC. And then that's how they brought in Friends. I remember the first couple episodes. They brought Friends in right after Seinfeld because that's how they wanted to, they wanted to build up the audience, and it went from there. But I remember those very days when it was like, oh yeah, they're going to show that new sitcom Friends after Seinfeld. It was like 8 o'clock and 8:30, something like that.
Yeah, there's certain old millennials that will die by that show for sure. That just absolutely love it. Yeah, I was just more interested because your kids would be Zoomers, right? What generation?
Yes. Yeah, they're still teenagers, so whatever that is.
Yeah, teenagers. So yeah, because we have a good mix with the voting. We have some boomers, we have some Generation X, and we have millennials too, right? And we see the kind of difference influencing on voting and depending on the song. That's why I'm really surprised to see, when Cheers just came out and did a high performance to the Final Four. I thought maybe it would show its legs. Same thing with MASH. I was surprised that it beat Who's the Boss because of that generational element.
Well, maybe people were actually went to your links and actually listened to the music, right? And realized, oh yeah, that's the opening to MASH, right? Whereas realized, oh yeah, that's a really boring theme song. It's another white guy, singing elevator music. I don't know.
Yeah, there's your elevator music. All right, so we've definitely talked about you shooting from the hip, and you like your high energy songs. So what we're going to do is we're going to examine one of your favorite ones. You've already mentioned it, but we're going to examine Miami Vice. And there's nothing more indulgent than Miami in the 80s. Could you think of anything more indulgent?
No, I guess when I hear people characterize the 80s, because I was just a teenager at the time myself, I was like, oh, okay, I guess it was like excess and good times and things like that. For me, I just remember where you wear colorful clothes, but there was a split. There were the headbangers, there were the preps, right? Or eventually the new wavers, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially how the music came through the 80s. And then eventually I think I ended up probably more on the new waiver end. So, but yeah, colorful, comfy clothes for sure.
Colorful, comfy clothes. All right, so we'll embrace the Miami Vice theme song here. So right there, you're rushing to the TV. It's the.
Oh yeah, it's starting.
Yeah.
Listen, I have a vivid memory of having a bunch of friends over, boys and girls. They were teenagers, and on a Thursday night or a Friday, I think it was a Friday night. It must have been a Friday night, and they were there. One of the things we were going to do that night was sit around the TV and watch Miami Vice. And I can remember when the music came on, a couple people that were in different other parts of the house or the basement coming running. Okay, hang on, I'm coming, right? So that's what that music was like. Hey, we're starting. Get to the TV, right? I was thinking it's a music video, right? I mean, that's the thing about it. It's a music video.
It's completely over the top. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not it's not a bunch of like shots of the characters talking like you see in all these Who's the Boss and Family Tie things, showing scenes of the sitcom while they play this music over top. It's an actual stand on its own music video, right?
Absolutely.
Wow, that was great for analysis. That was spur of the moment. But now that I'm looking at it again, I was like, yeah, it was cool to watch. I mean, that was a time when people liked to sit in front of their TVs and watch music videos, and that was a music video. So.
Yeah, this is when MTV was completely getting its launch for sure.
Uh-huh.
I love the gratuitous scenes of Rolls Royces just panning those. Yeah, it was a good time for sure. those the hour longs that I really bought into were Knight Rider, Dukes, and A-Team to a certain extent.
You know, the Dukes of Hazzard theme song. That's a great theme song. That's a great. Now, who bumped that out? It was someone ridiculous, I thought.
Let me just double check here.
I can't remember anymore. I remember how they, you know, but that's the thing. I thought it was a great song. You know what? You should also look up the theme song. Chris had said he felt out of the blue. He just said it's the best theme song he ever thought was The Wonder Years. But that's I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends, right? So I don't know if that counts because it wasn't a song written specifically as the theme song for the show. It was a song that this show.
Well, yeah, that was the debate, right? Because even the Drew Carey Show, that's a President's of the United States song. So was it created for the show or was it not? And then Married with Children, you have
exactly Love and Marriage, yeah.
Yeah, that's a Sinatra song. But yeah, so Dukes of Hazzard was beat by Full House, and then Full House was absolutely clobbered by Cheers. That's why I felt like if you can beat Dukes, you're gonna put up a good fight. But it was not the case whatsoever. All right, so once again, I'd like to thank you again for giving your thoughts and your inspirations and your stories for this, and we'll be sure you'll be adding your comments and replies as we finish off the final week of the TV theme battle bracket.
Sure. I'll keep it clean.
Keep it, just express from the heart. That's all we can ask, right?
I gotta say though, I mean, it's the one that's like the Jeffersons. How did we miss the Jeffersons? I think it's because I just always think of it as more of a 70s show, but it's not. I think it ran 75 to 85, something like that.
Yeah, it had a big run. Yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean, everybody knows the words to that, and I mean, it's upbeat and it's a fun song. And
when I interviewed Adam Vettner, our first interview, that as soon as we turned the cameras on, he was like, "Where are the Jeffersons?"
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah. So there's definitely a few other people. All right. Well, thanks again, Carol. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Kelly. See ya.
No problem.